Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be making a tropical terrarium that is based on something I saw in a shop recently and I thought it'd be a cool thing to make. I have some plants lying around which would fit it quite well. So I'm just going to start off by putting the false bottom in. This is just some white gravel that I have. I washed it beforehand to get rid of any debris in there. And that's just going to be where all the water collects in the system so that you don't get a soggy soil and it gets all moldy. So this time I'm going to try something different. Normally I'd put the water in at the end, but I'm going to pour it in at the bottom this time and just let the ecosystem sort of sort itself out. Then I'm going to cut this mesh for the barrier between the soil and the false bottom. This is just some insect mesh that I found on Amazon, you know, the one that you can put on a door just to keep the insects out. So this just goes on top. It's a bit of a trial and error sort of situation really. You end up cutting it a couple times just to get the right fit, make sure that minimal soil is going into the false bottom, and it can be quite frustrating to get it right the first time, but if you're just patient with it, it'll work out fine. Next is the activated charcoal. Now this is a preventative measure against mold. It purifies the water in the system and just makes sure that everything's nice and clean. You can usually buy this from any sort of pet store or on Amazon. It's normally in the aquarium sections, but yeah, works great in a terrarium as well. So I'm just going to put the substrate on top of the activated charcoal. This is a mixture of sphagnum moss, cocoa fibre, some sand and orchid bark. So I'm going to put the first plant in. This is a peace lily. I got some cuttings from a shop on Etsy. Got about 5 cuttings that came through and this is just one of them. Really nice cheap way to get some plants for your terrariums. And I'm excited to see how this one develops because it's got a flower in it, so it'll be nice to see a terrarium with a flower in it, something I'm yet to experiment with. So yeah, I'm excited to see how that goes. You have to be really patient with putting the cuttings in. It can be quite frustrating and difficult to actually get the plants settled in because you can't exactly go in and use both your hands to sort everything out like you would if you were just putting them in a plant pot. You have to really use a combination of tweezers, and if you can fit your hand in there then that's a bonus, but in general, yeah, if it's a smaller one you're definitely going to just have to rely on tweezers and it's very tedious, but once you get it settled in it's all worth it, I think. Now I'm just going to cap off the substrate around the peace lily with some white pebbles. I do this for 2 reasons. It looks nice and also because it just gives a bit more stability to the plants, which especially that peace lily was quite flimsy as a cutting, so hopefully that will just help it, you know, stay in the right place. Next, I'm putting in this spider plant. I got this from a supermarket in one of those little pots that you can buy, you know, like the £3 pots. I've had it for about a year now and I thought I'd just give it a new home, and I think it looks really nice in here, complements the whole tropical terrarium sort of vibe. Obviously, I know that realistically in the ecosystem, this isn't going to be an accurate representation of what you would find in a tropical rainforest. This is more of an aesthetic look. It would be interesting to try make something based off of plants that are just found in the region that I'm trying to emulate. If that's something you want to see, then let me know in the comments below. I'm also going to cap the substrate around the spider plant with some more pebbles for the same reasons that I did with the peace lily. Now it's time to add in some hardscape. Usually I might put in the hardscape before the plants, but in this case I really wanted the plants to be the dominating feature and to guide what goes on in the rest of the setup. So this time I'm just going to put in the hardscape afterwards, and it's very simple, just a couple twigs that I found out while I was in a forest somewhere. I can't remember exactly where, somewhere in West Yorkshire, and yeah, just thought they would look nice in this setup, give it a bit more height and just add to the general aesthetic that I'm looking for. I'm also going to put some more pebbles all over the substrate just as I really like the way they looked. Once again, not accurate to a tropical rainforest at all, but I just really was going for the aesthetic this time rather than realism. I think that it turned out really nice. So now on top of the pebbles slash substrate, I'm going to be putting in some moss. I got this moss from the river that literally is about 2 minutes away from me. I think this is springy turf moss, but I'm no expert in this by any means, so if I'm wrong then please correct me in the comments. I'd like to know what this actually is, but this grows in abundance really close to me, and I've had good luck with this in other terrariums, so it's typically a go-to for me. I do try other mosses, but I have found that this one is just the most consistent and reliable one basically. Now it's time to just add in some final accent pieces. I'm going to add in another stick that I found that has this sort of two-prong thing going on I really like the look of. Got some leaf litter in there, just little bits and bobs that I found in the forest again, and they're just going to help add to the general aesthetic of the whole thing. And it's always nice to put these little accent pieces in to give a bit more dimension to your setup.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm really happy with how this turned out. It ended up being some kind of jungle terrarium, which I wasn't intending on making, but I got some moss from the river nearby, and it just so happens that it gives this really nice jungle slash rainforest carpet, and added some sticks in as well. I found some interesting looking ones, especially the one in the middle with the two branches coming off the side of it. And yeah, I've had this plant here for quite a while. It was in a little container. I got it from Tesco's, I think, for maybe £3, like maybe a year ago, 2 years ago. And this one is from Etsy. I bought about 5 cuttings from Etsy. I just potted them all up and waited for them to have a proper home, and now we have one of them in one. It's really cool when something turns out to be not what you expected. I was aiming for something more like what you'd buy in a shop, to be honest. I saw something in Sainsbury's and I thought that'd be really cool to recreate with what I have. But in adding the moss and the sticks, which weren't in the one that I saw, it just became this rainforest kind of terrarium, and I'm really excited to see how this grows. I'm really excited to see when the flower blooms. So this is going to be a really cool one to watch. I already have watered it in the bottom, so I don't need to spray it. I will keep an eye on that, as I'm not too sure if it's going to work or not. It's just something I'm trying out, but I will monitor that. Last thing to do is close the lid. And there we have another terrarium. If you enjoyed this video, then please give me a like, and if you want to see more about plants, animals, anything nature-based, then consider subscribing and clicking that notifications bell so that you never miss a video. Also, as always, if you enjoyed the music throughout this video, I have a Spotify link down below for all my music that I make. If you end up making a project like this, then I'd love to see it. Please tag me on Instagram. My link is down in the description below. Once again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.